like floating cars and stuff like those.
Well, yeah, that's the issue I take with a lot of conspiracy theories, especially like that idea that there are these, sort of evil, manipulative, intelligent beings that have been quietly like orchestrating things behind the scenes for years. Why? Like, if you're so intelligent that you mastered interstellar space travel, why even bother fucking with some monkeys? Like, who cares? We all like pets, but not that, like not to the point that I orchestrate like the politics of people's cats.
But the cat could be part of it too, man. The cat is part of it always. The cat is always there as the other creature in your house. There's always a cat, a furry creature is just there looking at you, saying nothing except for the wow and things like that.
It's possible that we're the first sentient life in the universe, because I remember thinking, okay, so the universe is 14 billion years old, just shy of 14 billion years old. But at the beginning of the universe, there were no heavy elements. There was just a universe of hydrogen and a little bit of helium because of nuclear fusion. So they needed, the only heavy elements, it's like, Carl Sagan says, we're all made of star stuff. That's because what happens is you get these really big stars, and they're so large that they can actually fuse the hydrogen into something useful, like carbon or oxygen or nitrogen. But the point is, you still need, in order for there to be any carbon in the universe, you still need for there to be a giant star that lives an entire life and explodes and blows all the carbon then that it's made out into the universe, so that then a second generation of stars can, accrete planets all around it made out of things like, carbon and iron and nickel and gold and whatever. Then that needs to settle into a planet. Then, a billion years later, you can get complex life on it. And then, like in the case of Earth, you're talking 3 or 4 billion years later, you get things like dinosaurs or things like people. So suddenly, the 14 billion year life of the universe doesn't seem to me to be that much time. Like if we're supposed to be living in a universe that's populated by, space civilizations that have been around for billions of years, there's not as many billions in the life of the universe as you would think.
If you look at Mars, there's apparently water on Mars, it's perfectly reasonable there would have been something way before Earth was, certainly way before humans were on Earth, right? Okay, so that, I think it's Next Generation, there's this episode where they find this sentient rock form. Have you seen that? Yeah, so I think they go to a planet, and they're trying to terraform the planet, so completely reconstruct it, and they start getting this resistance because they realize they're committing genocide on this mineral deposit, this intelligent mineral, and it just is so outside their framework of understanding that it challenges everything that they've done. The basic conception of what life is. So, who's to say that they made objects, right? We make tools. We're apes. We make tools. Not everything makes tools. So, I don't know, maybe they're derived from lizards or something, right? So, I don't think lizards make tools.
There could be hypersmart snake aliens. Obviously, they run the government.
Each of the movies that you see is like, here come the aliens. And it sounds like it sounds like each and every society that has moved into another society, and that is what the story is, the narrative, and the whole thing too is we're still trying to deal with it. Like we were speaking before, we are still dealing today with the fact that we don't know how to treat each other. Even for a second, we don't know how to treat each other if it's the other person. And every great tradition speaks of this very in depth in their mystical treaties. Each of them speak like this about how to confront or be confronted by the other that is not you, and on a personal level and on a societal level, and that maybe that fear element is created by the incursions that we have done or have had done to us by various so-called alien life forms. And the way botanists talk about trees and stuff is like the same way. They're taking over whereas flowers may have been, or flowers have, each of the life forms does this sort of incursion into the other and wipes out another form.
There was even the Mars mission that it didn't pan out, but it was all those people, who said, who volunteered to go to Mars to be a one-way Mars colony, on the condition that they wouldn't be able to come back. But, just a few years ago, they had that the group of people that volunteered to go to Mars to set up a Mars colony. And that's even it's only really in the 20th century that we had the kind of intercontinental travel that meant that if you went to North America, you could still come back to Europe, or if you went to India, you could see your little British manor before you died on the way back. It's such a new concept to have these vacations, and for the rest of human history, it's been like, no, if you want to go settle somewhere, you're not coming back home, So I think we just kind of forgot that, and it seems to me that the precedent for going to settle other planets is like, yeah, you're probably not going to come back. You have to, so hopefully, we're not going to be sending people to other planets that don't want to go to those other planets, right? So find the people that want to go to Mars and send them to Mars. You'll probably, I'm sure they'll have a great time doing it. Some of the days are going to be rough, but at the end of the day, they get to be the first people on Mars.
April 9th, 2020. Silently approaching drunk with strangers. We attempt jokes but stay stuck on head shakes and long sighs. Prolonged nervous staring at our afternoon skies. 48 hours earlier. The discovery of a glass object beneath the surface of Mars. 1 meter in length. Its age and purpose yet unknown. The taste of food has changed. Our plans feel insignificant. For the first time we are undeniably not alone. Our coastlines inching incrementally closer together. We stare into each other's eyes. So sorry. So forgiving. Abandoned since before the first birth.
If you do think about it in terms of just how much that would blow everyone's mind, like our entire life, everything we know, interpersonal relationships, relationship with natural world, cities, all that, where all those social structures are there, like the ingrained racism, all that. But all of that, everything you've ever known is now separated from you in a sense. You start to realize, like, it's not just this planet, it's not just this structure. So whatever that thing is, it's completely unknown and challenges the foundation of everything you know. But I think it's an ideal that I hear a lot, this idea of the aliens will show up and then we'll all band together. I don't think that's the way it's going to go. Like, if you look at drone warfare in countries in Pakistan, or like where they had going over in Syria and all that stuff. It's like there's still tribal divisions. They're just like, oh right, yeah, this fucking sucks right now, huh? Okay, well guess what? We can take advantage of it to exploit whatever it is we have to do. And that's not just a tribal thing, that's a national thing or whatever it is. Like, I think we would take advantage of it, actually.
And just watch when something like that does happen, and, you know, like, I don't know if it's going to be a shard of metal on Mars, but it'll be something, you know, there will be some inarguable sign that there are aliens out there. Watch how quickly a bunch of people's opinions on whether or not this is important will change. You know, like there will still be political stupidity, there will still be business stupidity, but what you'll get is a whole bunch of regular people who would have never cared about this, you know, in their lives, suddenly will think, wait, what? You're telling me that there's something out there and we don't know what it is. We have to figure out what the hell this is.
I'd like to tell them that we would like to meet them and share things like resources and like stuff like that.
Oh, I would tell them what qualities, to the best of our knowledge, we think makes someone or something worthy of moral consideration.
We know, and we're working on it.
So I would try to tell them what we think consciousness is. And I mean, if their consciousness is, not more developed, I would say has additional components that we can't fathom. I think it's important that rather than assuming that we're not conscious or that we are so unforgivably, intensely unethical that we should be tortured.
Y'all figured this shit out yet? Because we haven't. What you got?
That they understand that in some cases maybe we're making errors, and in the cases where we're just being deliberately ignorant and allowing suffering to continue, that just because if you have the kind of consciousness we do, human consciousness, just because you understand something intellectually doesn't mean you can bring yourself to do anything about it to make things better. Of course, perhaps through that admission, we should just be destroyed.
I would always like to tell them, you be calm. I am calm now. Be calm.
You know, I wonder if us being the invaders or even trying our best not to be the invaders, it'll just be a kind of privileging of a certain kind of species. Like, in a lot of ways, I think we're always looking for ourselves somewhere else. So even to bring up the tool that we might find on Mars or something. And that's similar with all sorts of other cultures that historically and through colonial processes, even before colonial, like first contact, we're always looking for the things that are similar about us, and we value that, I think, the most. And the ways we're reaching out to them, we're looking for some kind of connection, like maybe the music or the words or something that's similar to us. But if we were to land on a planet that's shared by like giant pandas and humanoids, of course it makes sense, would probably privilege the humanoids, they're the most like us. But what if it's actually the giant panda planet? Like, what's our contact going to do? Are we then going to like feed arms to the humans to fight off the giant pandas? That'd be messed up.
But I would say, though, on that, the idea that maybe we've been left behind by evolution in the universe, like, maybe. But like I was talking about before, there's just so many suns in the galaxy, and like we already know, we've discovered over the last 5 years, we've discovered thousands of planets just in, and only in like a tiny chunk of the sky. Like, it's so inevitable to me that there are other planets with nearly identical conditions to Earth, let alone, nearly identical conditions to Mars and Jupiter that could have moons and